All right, let's talk about Windows 11. Is your PC feeling, well, kind of slow? Don't worry, we're about to dive into 10 hidden settings that can give it a serious kick, and we're getting started right now.
You know that feeling, right? When your computer just feels like it's wading through molasses. You click, and then you wait, you boot it up, and you wait some more. It is so frustrating, and you just know your machine can do better.
Well, here's the thing. The good news is the fix is probably hiding in plain sight. We're going to walk through 10 specific settings you can tweak, like right now, to make your whole system feel faster and way more responsive.
So let's start with the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit. These are some simple tweaks to visuals and startup things that can give you an instant, actually noticeable speed boost. Minimal effort, maximum reward.
Okay, first on the list, performance options. You can think of this as the master switch for all of Windows 11's fancy visual flair. The animations, the fading windows, all that jazz. By choosing Adjust for Best Performance, you're basically telling your PC, hey, forget the eye candy. Just give me raw speed. And trust me, it can make a huge difference in how snappy everything feels.
And speaking of visuals, let's talk about those transparency effects. Yeah, they look cool, that little see-through effect on the taskbar and stuff. But here's the catch. They're constantly nibbling away at your GPU's power. Just flicking that one transparency effect switch to off is such a simple fix that frees up graphics resources and makes the whole interface feel just a little bit quicker.
All right, let's talk about boot time. Every single one of these programs here, they launch the moment your PC turns on, and that just grinds everything to a halt. The secret here is to open up this list and just be ruthless. Seriously, if you don't absolutely need it the second you log in, disable it. You will feel that difference every single morning.
And hey, while we're on the topic of starting up, you got to enable fast startup. This thing it's a really clever hybrid. It's not a full shutdown, but it's not quite hibernation either. What it does is it saves a snapshot of your system state, so when you power back on, Windows can load everything so much faster. For boot times, it's a total game changer.
Okay, so we've taken care of the quick fixes. Now it's time to pop the hood and really dig into some of the core system settings. This is where we can find some even bigger performance gains.
Now this one is huge. So many apps just run in the background, silently chewing through your RAM and your CPU power, even when you're not using them. So if you go into each app settings and switch this permission to never, you're basically taking back control. You're making sure your PC's power is used for what you're actually doing, not what some app thinks it should be doing. So by default, your PC's power plan is probably set to balanced, right? It's trying to save energy. But if you want pure, unadulterated speed, especially if you're gaming or editing video, you have to switch it to high performance. This tells your processor to just go full throttle all the time. It gets rid of any lag you might get when it's trying to wake up from a power-saving mode.
All right, let's get a little technical with virtual memory. So when your computer runs out of actual RAM, Windows uses a chunk of your storage drive as a sort of emergency overflow. It's called the paging file. Now here's the thing, even the fastest SSD is way, way slower than real RAM. So while Windows tries to manage this on its own, manually optimizing that file size can really help prevent stutters and crashes when you're pushing your system really hard with big applications.
Okay, warning time. This next one is definitely for the more advanced users out there. It involves messing with something called the Windows Registry, so you have to be careful. But if you know what you're doing, tweaking the network throttling index can potentially slash your latency and boost your network speed, which is awesome for online gaming or anything else that's really heavy on your network.
All right, we've done a bunch of manual tweaks. Now, how about we put your PC on autopilot for a bit? These next couple of settings are all about set it and forget it, getting Windows to clean up after itself to keep things running smoothly for the long haul.
You're gonna love this one, Storage Sense. It's basically your PC's personal housekeeper. Once you turned it on, it'll just automatically get rid of temporary files, empty your recycling bin, and clear out old downloads, all on a schedule that you decide. It is an absolutely fantastic way to keep your drive from getting clogged up with junk, and you don't even have to think about it.
And last but not least, number 10. Disk optimization. Now this is a super important maintenance tool, but, and this is a big but, what it actually does is completely different depending on whether you have an older hard drive or a modern SSD. And it's really, really important to know the difference.
So here's the breakdown. If you've got an old school spinning hard drive, an HDD, optimizing means defragmenting. It's like a librarian reorganizing a messy bookshelf, putting all the pieces of your files back together so they can be read faster. But for a modern solid-state drive, an SSD, optimizing runs a command called trim. This is totally different. It's more like a digital cleanup crew that tells the drive which blocks of data are no longer needed, which makes writing new files much faster. Now, Windows is supposed to handle all this automatically, but it's still good to know how it works and how to kick it off yourself.
And that's it. Look, none of these tweaks is a magic bullet on its own, right? But when you put them all together, they really, really add up. The combined effect can seriously transform a PC that feels sluggish into a machine that's way more responsive and honestly just more fun to use.
So, let's just recap what we did. We've tweaked your visuals and startup for that instant feeling of speed. We've optimized your system resources so they're working smarter, not harder. We've unlocked your hardware's potential with better power management, and we've put maintenance on autopilot to keep everything running clean from now on.
It just goes to show you, right? Sometimes the biggest impact comes from these small, simple tweaks. It's all about making your technology work for you instead of feeling like you're fighting against it.
So, now that your PC is running faster and a whole lot smoother, there's really only one question left to ask. What are you going to do with all that extra speed?